Gino's East is one of Chicago's most famous deep dish pizza places. They've been open since 1966. And there are still some people who don't realize Gino's East is here in LA now too. And let me tell you, it feels like you're in Chicago when you're in there. I know, I'm in there a lot. And during the week, Gino's has a happy hour from 3 to 6, Monday through Thursday. Get $5 drinks like Stella and Dark Horse Chardonnay. Also, $6 eats like spinach artichoke dip, garlic breadsticks, and a jumbo bowl of fries. There's so much great stuff on the menu. I always have a difficult time deciding what to order at Gino's. My go-to is probably the tavern pizza, cheese and sausage. You know what? Everything is my go-to there. Deep dish, the Italian beef, you name it. Everything on that menu is fantastic. Gino's East of Chicago and Los Angeles was named Best Pizza in the Southland by LA Times readers 2 years in a row. It's more than just a Chicago restaurant. It's one of the best restaurants in LA. Check out the friendly confines of Gino's East LA today on the corner of Coldwater Canyon and Riverside Drive, just off the 101. See you there.
Sit back and relax. It's time for peanuts, popcorn, and Cracker Jacks.
Hey, how's it going? I'm your host, Jeff Santo, and I'm here with my wife, Christie.
Hello, hello.
Well, it was a couple of weeks, a tough couple of weeks here.
That's for sure. My mom passed away, so she is no longer in any pain. And it was peaceful, and she was surrounded by her friends and me and my brother, and she has some amazing friends, and my godmother is just a saint, Paula. I love her so much.
Yeah, it was something that, I had to stay in touch from afar, but I could feel the love for your mom with her friends, her flight attendant friends, and what you said about how her passing went. It seemed peaceful, which is great. That's what we want.
And we got to have a memorial as well. And, Donato's restaurant in Redwood City did a great job. We had a whole patio to ourselves, and it was just a really, really wonderful moment that we all shared to honor her life.
Yeah. And when we lose a parent, and now you've lost both your parents, which is tough. And life is short, and you do the things you love, you hang out with the people you love, and you stay positive, and you remember the ones that that loved us and got us to where we are, really. I mean, we always go back to our childhood. I believe this the older we get, and just thinking of, seeing all the pictures of your mom, going back to when she was younger, when you were younger, and some of the books that you wrote, like when you were 9 and 10 and 11.
I wrote little books.
It was amazing to read because your mom had all these things packed away.
She saved everything.
Yeah, she did save a lot. But those precious gems that you brought back home just gave me some insight into you more as a kid. And wow, man, you were a tough kid. I mean, you were writing young. You were telling stories at a young age, and you had conviction too. I mean, your mom kept some strong letters,
Oh, you're talking about my Declaration
of Independence at 13.
Written like a lawyer at like 12.
Yes. Don't ground me for reasons that don't make sense to me.
And she kept it.
And she kept it. She's like, hey, and so that we got a good chuckle out of those, and just heartfelt stuff too, babe. So, yeah, and it makes us look at life, and every day is precious. So that's kind of our theme. And today's guest will lighten things up. That's for sure. One of the greatest personalities in baseball is my special guest today, and I can't wait for you to hear this conversation. Sean Casey, something else.
Yeah.
Wow. And also my crackerjack call is to a childhood friend of mine, Jimmy Rosenberger. And you talk about, he's the second kid I met on the block, real young, and he's got some special things to say about growing up next to us and his upbringing and some things about his dad that I didn't know until now. Like I knew about, but didn't really know, and what my dad meant to him and my mom and just our friendship. So it's pretty special too.
So enjoy.
Enjoy. Have you ever wondered how cool it would be to experience the life of a big league ball player? Well, at Northside Baseball Fantasy Camp, you'll enjoy the week of a lifetime, playing ball on pro-quality fields, being coached by and sharing a clubhouse with Cub legends including Fergie Jenkins, Jody Davis, Bob Denier, Sean Dunston, and Lee Smith. Imagine your first day at the camp at Northside. You enter into the clubhouse and see your locker with your nameplate and personalized home and away Cub uniforms, and then you see that one of your Cubs heroes has a locker right next to yours. No longer a fantasy. Your Cubs career is about to get real. At Northside Baseball Fantasy Camp, you'll stay in top-shelf accommodations and compete in a 10-game season that includes a playoff to determine the camp champions. My brother and I were on a couple of camp championship teams, and it got intense. It was great competition. And you'll have services of a professional training staff, and you'll need it, that's for sure. Plus a clubhouse attendant like the big leagues have. Picture yourself towing the rubber facing Ron Say or Willie Wilson or Ron Coomer. Yeah, that's right. And when you're in the batter's box, you better get ready to take some hacks against big league arms like Mike Remlinger, Ray Burris, and Tim Stoddard. Northside Baseball Fantasy Camp is run by veterans of Randy Huntley's Fantasy Camp. Randy's a legend and will always be remembered for this gift he gave to baseball fans, to all of us. His legacy is in good hands. Northside Camp runs January 26th to February 2nd, 2025 in Tucson, Arizona. Roster spots are limited, so grab yours today. Go to wavelandevents.com. That's wavelandevents.com and click on Northside Baseball Fantasy Camp link for more information and to register. You can also follow Northside Baseball Fantasy Camp on Facebook. Sign up now. This podcast is brought to you by Bernie's Tap and Grill. It's family-owned and operated since 1954. Located across from Wrigley Field on Clark and Waveland. My dad hit a few home runs on the Waveland Avenue, and Bernie's was my dad's favorite place to go. It's got delicious food, 4 full-service bars, an awesome beer garden, a sidewalk patio cafe, and a cool upstairs area. It's the place I've always met my friends at before and after games. Go on by and tell Linda Dillman Jeff Santos sent you. Bernie's Tap and Grill, where you go when you go to Wrigley. My special guest is a 300 lifetime major league hitter. Don't see many of those anymore. And his personality is one of the best ever in the game. I've been around a lot of storytellers, and this man hits all the notes. He's been honored with the Hutch Award given annually to the major leaguer that best exemplifies the fighting spirit and competitive desire. They call him the mayor because he'd always greet opposing players at first base, and you can find him after a ball game telling stories to civilians outside the ballpark. He loves the game like my father did and honors that love to everyone he runs into who wants to talk baseball. I witnessed it myself at Randy Huntley's fantasy camp. He's a 3-time All-Star, an MLB analyst, a broadcaster, a hitting coach, a father of 4, and a top-notch human being. Sean Casey, so cool to have you on the show, man.
Jeff, that's what an incredible introduction, man. I really appreciate that. But thank you, man. You are, it's great to see you, man. You're a beauty. How's it going?
Thank you. Good, man. My first question, it's a serious one. How did you hit 300?
Dude, I'll tell you what, man. I look back now and I'm like, I don't know how I did it. You know what I mean? I think you're such a psychopath in your 20s and 30s, and you're just like, I was just like, I loved hitting for average. It consumed me. I'd have rather hit 300 than hit 40 homers. That's just the mentality I always had. You know, and the guys that I loved, the Mark Graces, the Don Mattingleys, the Will Clarks, the Tony Gwynns, the Rod Carews, George Brett. You know, that was that mentality of like 300 was the number. So, you know, I'm very grateful to have that. You know, at 12 years in the big leagues and be a career 302 hitter for me is probably one of my biggest accomplishments.
Oh, it's huge, man. Let me ask you. Now, when you got out of the dugout, got into the on-deck circle,
Tell me your thought process.
Well, I was very fortunate because Harvey Dorfman, who was like wrote the mental game of baseball, the mental keys to hitting. My dad bought me that book when I was like 16 years old, and it was like the only book that I just took to heart. I read it almost every single day. And one of the big things he had in there was see the ball be easy. See the ball be easy. So when I got on deck, I always thought the three keys: see the ball be easy, hammer it. So it was like, how slow could I get my breathing right, make sure I took a deep breath before every pitch, and then hunt the fastball, look middle way, react in, and just do it over and over and over again. And that's, I think for me, Jeff, when I look back at my time as a player, I think that process is what made me great, because I was like, Harvey used to say, no matter what, if you could master your process, it won't matter if it's game 7 in the World Series, bases loaded, tie game, or Cincinnati, 7th game of the year where there's 8 people in the stands and it's your first at bat. If your process is the same, the pressure's always is what you say it is. So the game never got too big for me because I was able to go one pitch at a time with that process.
That's amazing, man. I love that approach. And, hitting is an art craft. It's a craft, man. And that's the thing I look at. My dad had it too. You guys, you got on base, you hit for average. You had power too, at times. You did.
Yeah. Well, one thing I talk about too. I wasn't a huge home run hitter, but I was a big doubles guy. I hit 46 doubles a year. Doubles are power.
Absolutely.
Doubles are power, dude. I'm so sick of. I see these guys hitting 30-some homers a year. They're like 770 OPS. I'm like, all right. Like my career OPS was 814. Like, why? Because I was hitting doubles. I was hitting for average. I was driving guys in. I was getting singles when I needed to. So, like, I'm just saying, like, sometimes it gets lost in the shuffle. Power. You want to look at your OPS, on base and slug. Doubles are slugs. So, like, I think guys get too caught up in this year of, like, the home run. Like, doubles will clear the bases. Doubles will drive a guy in from first. Doubles are driving runs. So if you become a great complete hitter, that means you're hitting a lot of doubles. That's what I really believe about the whole power thing is doubles are powers. I think we've lost that in today's game. Guys just want to hit the ball in the ballpark. Then in turn, they're not the best hitters they could be.
Yeah, I'm so with you on that, man. And I say it's an art form because, I played and I know the game and
right.
And I studied my dad, after his career when I did the documentary and still do and just love that approach. And your approach, when you get up there, you're not guessing, are you? You've never guessed, have you?
No, dude. I was hunt the fastball. Everything off the fastball. Hunt the fastball, look middle way, react in. But anything that was spinning, it was up. That's what I was on. If you hang me a curveball, hang me a slider, hang me a changeup, man. That's a lot of where your home runs come from. I was always looking. I was always looking to drive the ball to left center as a lefty, and then react in. Look middle way, react in, and then last year when I was with the Yankees as a hitting coach, I grabbed a couple of those guys over to talk to Miguel Cabrera. Miguel Cabrera is one of the greatest hitters ever. He told these guys, "Hey, listen, the fastball goes to right center." He goes, and everything else spinning goes to left. And I just thought, that's how you hit 500 homers. Right. That's how you have 3,000 career hits. And that's how you're one of the greatest hitters of all time. Any great hitter I've ever heard says the fastball goes the other way on the approach. Now you're gonna clip some inside heaters, but if you're approaching that opposite field gap and then looking to react to everything else, dude, I think you're going to be on more balls than you're not. You're still going to fail 70% of the time. That's what that means.
No doubt, man. And, my dad always said to me, my brother growing up, you look for the fast, you adjust to the curve, right? It seems today, Sean, that I see so many hitters taking a third strike fastball down the middle. They're guessing, right? What is going on with some of these guys who are striking out so much and they look so off on certain pitches? It can only be a guess, right?
I think more guys are guessing nowadays because of the analytics, and I think that's a bad thing.
Oh, yeah.
Because at the end of the day, 0.38 seconds or 0.4 seconds is a 95-mile-an-hour fastball. You have to determine, am I swinging? Am I not swinging? Is it a strike? Is it a ball? Is it up? Is it down? Is it in? Is it out? Is it a curveball? Is it a slide? Right? And you blink in 0.4 seconds.
Right.
So, if you're not looking off the fastball, you're not gonna be able to hit it.
Never.
Right. So, but I can hit everything else. If I look off the fastball, I can hit everything else. But I think one thing's happening, Jeff, now is like the analytics is such a big part of the game. The guys are saying, hey, this guy's throwing 52% sliders. I mean, and one thing I did see with the game more as being the hitting coach at the Yankees last year is guys are throwing more. Like you got a guy out there throwing 98, but he's throwing 52% sliders. I'm like, what?
Right.
But that's more guys than ever are throwing more off-speed pitches. That still doesn't mean you guess it, because at the end of the day, as you know, Jeff, if you throw me a nasty slider and I guess right, I ain't hitting it anyhow. You throw me a nasty curve, 12-6 hook, and I guess curveball, and what happens when you guess? Oh, yeah, I'm right, but it's a nasty one. I don't care. You're 100 out of 100. You're not hitting it. You're not hitting it. So the fastball up, I'm looking to attack, and anything spinning that's up, that's hanging, those are the only ones you're going to hit anyhow.
Absolutely, man. I agree with you. The analytics has really taken baseball in a decline. In a way, like when they came out with Moneyball, I get it. That was cool. You get to see, okay, getting on base is the way to go. It's always been that way. Now they're putting a spotlight on it, right? And now it kind of just shifted to another place, right? And players looking at iPads, I'm like, come on, man, I can't have that stuff in my head. You got to be like, what got you to the big leagues was you could react to the different pitches that are coming while you're hanging back. And it's that craft. It's that, like you said, you got a plan. Stick to that plan. Be like going to the blackjack table, and now you're guessing. Oh, you're going to play against the rule, right?
Right.
And it's just not going to work for you in the long run. And you're seeing it with these averages, 210. You know,
oh, dude, what 185? Our guy's got a good OPS. I'm like, dude, these OPSs are in 600 now, 500s. Javi Lopez is been like 500 OPS all year long, getting paid $20 million a year. It's like, it's incredible, man. And I really do believe it. And then the easy way out is say the pitching's better. That's the easy way out, dude.
Yeah.
I disagree.
No doubt.
Why are guys still hitting 330? Why are Bobby Witt still hitting 350? Why are some guys still hitting and a lot of guys aren't? Like, that's such an excuse. Like, well, the pitching's better. Like, stop that stuff.
Yeah.
Stop that stuff. The ball still has to come over the plate. I don't care if it's at 100. And big leaguers hit velo. So that's not the 100 miles an hour. That's not, but, guys are, if it's a cutter, sinker, you still have to put your eyes into a certain spot to hit. And the reason Aaron Judge has gone to another level this year is he's hunting where he wants it. He's hunting middle away. He's looking for a spot up. He's not chasing the slider off. That's what great hitters do. A lot of times you see these pitching machine swings now. They use these machines so much. You see a guy, there's no adjustability in the hands at times. You'll see the ball is sinking away. The guy takes a swing like it's middle in. I'm like, dude, the ball's over there.
Right.
Like, you just took 3 swings in the same spot. Like, that's insanity.
Totally. And striking out is a horrible feeling. And that's why you were talking about it. There's no way you're getting up there wanting to strike out, right? You got to make contact. You got to get on base. I'm just, it's tough to see Dansby Swanson at times up there. I know he's a great
200 sometimes, dude. He's striking out.
It's amazing, man. I'm like, come on, man. You're guessing. Come on. If you got to guess, you're dude, I don't know if they're going to stay in the league.
And good things happen when you put the ball in play. Like, put the ball in play. Look at Kyle Schwarber this year. He struck out 214 times last year, hit 197 with 40 homers. He was pissed. So he comes back this year. He's like, you know what? I got to choke up with 2 strikes. I got to have a 2-strike approach. I got to put the ball in play more. There in turn, he's hitting, 255, 260. His OPS is now sitting around a 900, still hitting home runs.
Yeah.
But you know what? I'm sorry, as a big league ball player with 2 strikes, you got to be able to put the ball in play or not punch out 200 times, dude. Come on.
Yeah.
Like, Mike Schmidt would have been a god now. I think he struck out 154. They wanted to run him out of Philly. You know what I mean? Now he's like 154. Congratulations, Mike. You're one of the best. You don't strike out, the least amount on the league now.
Yeah. My dad, he led the league in walks 4 seasons,
Yeah.
And here, so shifting gears, I want to know who was responsible for you. Like, who gave you the ingredients to be Sean Casey to get that Hutch Award? All the things that make you who you are.
Yeah. Probably my mom and dad. My mom and dad, just really good people. Big on, like, treat people the way you want to be treated. Stay humble, and it was just big on, you got to work for everything you get. You know what I mean? At the end of the day. So, and I always kind of, 2 things my dad told me when I was younger, like, people love to be recognized. You know, whether if you're a kid, adults love to be recognized. If you're an adult, kids love to be recognized. And the sweetest sound you can give anybody is their name. You know what I mean? So like recognize people, get to learn their name. And I just had the, my mom kind of has the gift of gab. So I just felt I got that from Joan Casey. Like she could have a conversation with anybody you could talk to my mom for 2 hours, Jeff. You won't know what you talked about. Be like, what a heck of a conversation that was with Joan Casey. You know what I mean? So like, I always feel like, the gift of gab, being able to have the right emotional IQ where you know when to talk, when not to talk, know how to talk. And I always believe in the uplifting spirit. Are you what's coming out of your mouth? Are you uplifting people or are you bringing people down? I always felt like, if you're talking, you should be uplifting people.
Yeah, man, you got a lot of like my dad, same way. He just was grateful for where he got, where he came from, and understanding that this is a game that a lot of people love to play, and you're playing it. That's your job, man. And I just think that's beautiful seeing that in you, man, because my dad never turned down a fan. Now, if someone's going to be rude, you're going to speak. Right? Of course. But it's great to see that. When I met you, I just felt that. And there's just something special about it because so many people want to tap in to those stories and what it's like because it's so hard to get there. Now, your journey, when did you know baseball was your thing?
Oh man. I mean, I remember telling people when I was 12, I'm going to play in the big leagues one day, but then, it's funny because so many people along the way, I went through kind of like maybe the heavy kid stage where people are like, oh, you're too fat, you're too slow, you don't do this well, you don't do that well. So that's like 14 years old, 15, and you start to realize, oh man, maybe it's not in there. But in my mind, I always thought, I'm gonna play in the big leagues one day. I'm gonna play in the big leagues one day. And I think for me, I got to college baseball at University of Richmond in my sophomore year after I was fortunate enough to get recommended by a scout named Ty Brown. And Ty was big on me down there. Loved the way I hit. I started my freshman year, almost hit 400. Was a freshman All-American. My sophomore year, I hit 371. Had a good. And then I got sent to the Cape Cod League. And I'm like, oh, this is great. Well, Todd Helton was there. Like, this guy's the best player in the country. Darren Erstad was there. Like a bunch of different players. And I end up hitting 340. Led the Cape in RBIs. And like beat out Todd Helton for All-Star at the end of the year. That was kind of the first time I was like, if these guys in the Cape are going to be the first round picks of the draft, I'm going to have a shot to get drafted. And I end up the next year I won the NCAA batting title. I hit 461 at Richmond, and I ended up being a second round pick of the Indians, and that kind of started it. But I'd say after I played in the Cape that summer, I was like, oh, I got a shot to play pro ball. Like this is not like no longer a pipe dream of when you're 12 telling your friends and whoever would listen you want to play in the big leagues like we all did. After that year in the Cape, I'm like, it's go time.
Yeah, that Cape is cool, man. I always thought about, love to play there. Never got the shot at that. But wow, that Cape is competitive, and you're in the Hall of Fame. Right? Yeah. Amazing, man. When you go out there, do you stay with a family? How does that work?
We stay with a host family. What's cool, Jeff, is that my son plays college baseball at Kent State, and last summer he played in the Cape, and it was just so cool being back up there. Brought back so many members. Same fields are the same. Orleans and Brewster and all these teams are still the same up there, so it's pretty cool. Yeah, stayed with the host family, the Cahoons, Mark and Wendy Cahoon, really nice people. Their daughter's name was Jennifer. She had a horse. It was the only time I rode a horse. Last time I rode a horse, so that was scary. But they were just great people. They hosted you for the summer. I worked at the Stop and Shop as a bagger.
That's awesome.
Every morning I come in. I didn't work as a bagger. Time out. I worked in the bakery department. I think I was like the summer help. The ladies there basically abused me. Like every Mondays and Wednesdays, I'd go get all the bagels and the muffins off the truck, wheel them in, and they were like, "All right, you got to stack the freezer." I'm like, so I take this like I was an Eskimo. I got a big coat on, I got gloves, and like I was in there all day stacking the freezer. I was like, I cannot wait to play baseball. Like, get me out of here. Like, I was taking the bagels, putting them out, putting new boxes, stacking the whole thing, and it was one day I was like, I think the girl's name was Stephanie. I'm like, Stephanie, is there any chance I could start decorating cakes or making cookies or something? Like, this is incredible. I'm stacking this freezer. I can only assume you guys don't want to do this, so that's the reason I'm doing it,
That's great, man. So did you play other sports?
You know what? I played. Soccer probably should have been my other sport. I was a really good goalie, but playing here, living here in Western Pennsylvania, the peer pressure got me to play football. So I played football, basketball, baseball. But at the end of the day, like my careers, I was the guy that dribbled to the right. I was a big, at that age, I didn't know if I was a forward or was I a guard. So I really wasn't that great at basketball. I was okay. I mean, I could shoot, but anything else I wasn't that great at. And football just didn't work out too well. That's a whole nother story. First play, my freshman year, I was, they put me at line. Like I said, I wasn't that strong, but I was bigger than everybody else. So put me at line. I get down there, like, all right, Casey, go on for goal line defense. I get down a 4-point stance, Jeff, and my helmet didn't fit. So, usually when I'm in the stance, I'm holding my helmet, and guys are like, what the hell are you doing? I was like, my helmet doesn't fit. If I don't hold it, it falls down to my chin. So they're like, get in there in a 4-point stance and goal line defense. So I go running in, bro. I get down a 4-point stance. So you can imagine where my helmet was in the 4-point stance. It was like down on my Adam's apple. I couldn't even see. So they're like, down, set, hike. I do not come off the ball because I don't know what the hell's going on. I'm blind. This guy picks me up, pancakes me. Guy steps on my chest, running back, touchdown. So I'm so pissed off. The guy standing over me, I grab his face mask in the scrum and I pull him down on my wrist, break my wrist, out for the year. Never played football again. And that was it. That was the start of my baseball career, bro.
Right on, man. And talking about your base, that's awesome, man. Listen, now when you hit 461 in college your senior year, and you're the 53rd pick in the 1995 baseball draft. Now, did you think there were 52 better than you?
No, you know what? I didn't. But at the time, like I said, bro, I hadn't seen myself as a prospect till I went to the Cape. So then I went to my junior year, hit 461. Now I was getting drafted. So in my mind, I was just like, just get me in. Because if I get in, I'm going to hit. I'm going to hit anybody. I just need to get in. So when I saw I was a second-round pick, I was excited about that. I remember I was at my house, get the phone call in the kitchen. It's Jay Robertson of the Indians. Congratulations, we've taken you. I remember my mom going, what round? I'm like, what round did you take me? It's like second round. I'm like, second round. My mom's like, how much money is that? How much money? I'm like, what the hell, Bob? We don't worry about the money.
It's pretty good money though, right? Second round.
It was I got like $223,000, which at the time, dude, was like I was set for life. I mean, my dad was a chemical salesman. Traveling chemical sales, making $33,000 a year. We were grinding a lot. You know what I mean? But I remember my parents were like, hey, we have some student loans you have to pay. I was like, didn't you guys pay those? My mom's like, we can't afford those. So that went to University of Richmond. I bought a Honda Accord and bought my sister a Honda Accord. And then next, I think I had like $30,000 left. My dad's like, after Uncle Sam came in, so Uncle Sam comes in, and I think my dad's like, hey, hope you make the big leagues, son. I'm like, all right, but at least we have a Honda Accord. You know what I mean? Here's one quick story, Jeff.
Yeah.
On my Honda Accord, I had a Honda Accord. My buddy John Cunningham, who borrowed it one time at school, put a dent in it. That's a whole nother story. But after my first big league spring training with the Reds in 1999, I'm pulling up first day and, in front of me, there goes Barry Larkin in his Mercedes. Here comes Denny Nagel in his Hummer. Here comes Greg Vaughn in his freaking Audi. And then I come rolling in my dented 2-door Honda Accord that I got when I got drafted. And the security stops and like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And now I'd only played a few months in the biggest. So guys like, whoa, 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 dude, players lot. It's a players lot. I'm like, I know I'm a player. He goes, whoa, whoa, pull your car over there. So I'm like, what the hell? I swear to God, my name's Sean Case, and the first baseman for the Reds. I was up here last year. He's like, hang on, we gotta call. So they had to call Gary Wayhoff or Rob Butcher, the PR guy. Like, we have a guy out here in a 2-door Honda Accord with a huge dent in the front. He says he's the first baseman for the Reds, and they're like, yeah, he is. He is. Dude, that was that. They wouldn't let me in the lot, dude. They wouldn't let me in the lot.
That's great. Talking about the Reds in 99. Now you get drafted by the Indians, and boy, I looked at your minor league career. You were smoking. Boom, single, double, triple. Hey, and you're hitting 360. You're a big league 300 hitter for sure. And so you finally get up there was it 97 or 98?
97 you called up,
Called up at the end of the year, and you get 12 at bats or something.
10 at bats, yeah.
And then they trade you. They trade you because what? Jim Thome? Is that why?
Yeah, a guy named Jim Thomey's playing first. That's a good reason, right?
Did you know that was coming? Like you knew that spot was filled? Like
No, you know what, dude? What was crazy was, I just hit 380 in AA, AAA, and then got up to the big leagues in '97. And what was crazy was Richie Sexton and I were the first. We were the big league. We were the first base prospects. Richie Sexton and I. Richie Sexton and I hit 350 homers in the big leagues.
Right.
We just happened to be behind Thome. And kudos to the Indians scouting for the way that they drafted guys and hitters. Our top 10 prospects at the time were me, Brian Giles, went out incredible. Russell Branyan, Jarrett Wright, Bartolo Colon, Enrique Wilson, Einar Diaz. Wow. We were loaded, man. We were loaded with Jeremy Burnitz, guys that went on to have incredible careers. Danny Graves, best closer ever for the Reds.
Right.
And at the time, I was leading a team in hitting, I believe, at spring training, and Mike Hargrove called me, and I was the last cut, and he's like, "Hey, we know you've hit I hit 350 in the minors for 3 years. 3 years, combined 350. I'm like,
amazing.
And I'm thinking to myself, what else do I have to do to get to the big league club? This is ridiculous. And he's like, I don't want to DH you at such a young age, so we're going to send you back to Buffalo. Well, an article had just come out that said I was the untouchable prospect. There was all these prospects. I was the untouchable prospect, right? So now I was the number one prospect for the Indians. And we went down. We were finishing up spring training, and we went and played the Detroit Tigers in Lakeland. And Doc Gooden was coming down to get his final tune-up start before they broke camp with the team, obviously with the Indians. And Doc Gooden gets hurt in that game. Hurts his knee. So I don't think much of it. Game ends. We come back. I get pulled off the bus by this guy named Mike Brown, who was the pitching coordinator at the time. He said, "Hey, Mark Shapiro needs to see you," who was the head of the minor league director at the time. Mark needs to see you. So I go in to see Mark, and Mark and I were really close. And he doesn't say a word, hits the button on the phone. John Hart pops on, who was the GM of the Indians. He's like, "Hey, Case," he's like, "got good news and bad news for you, man." He's like, "The bad news is we traded you to the Cincinnati Reds. The good news is you're going to meet the team in the big leagues tomorrow." Wow. So Jim Bowden, the GM for the Reds, traded his number one starter, Dave Berman, his opening day starter, 14 hours before opening day for me, like a top prospect. It was the greatest thing that ever happened to me, man. I got a chance to go to Cincinnati, which, thank you, God, that I got the chance to play there with the history of that team and that city. And it gave me a chance to get my career started and get a chance to play. And one other side note of that is Casey McKeon is the scout that drafted me with the Indians. Well, Jack McKeon was the manager for the Reds at the time. So it was kind of a great, Jack already knew of me. Jack was so supportive of me, and that confidence boost for me, having the manager with that support, was so big for me, man.
That was like a great trade for both teams because you got to be freed and go have a career because you're not going to play when Tome's there, right? Unless they find another spot for you.
No chance.
And the pitcher, he did well. He had 15.
Burbs was there for 4 years.
Yeah, 4 years.
It was a great trade. It was a great trade both ways.
And I got to say though, so you get traded right before you break to go to the start of the season, and then you go to the Reds, and you go to the big league club, and then you have a freak accident. Talk about that.
Yeah.
Man,
third day.
That's scary.
Third day in the big leagues. Jack McKeon just told me that day. He's like, "Hey, listen, starting tomorrow, you're going to start playing every day." I'm like, "Oh, this is great. This is great." So that day during batting practice, Pokey Reese is hitting. The ironic thing is I got this big screen in front of me, right? Because you're taking balls from guys throwing. If they want to get some grounders, I'd catch them, whatever. So Pokey Reese is hitting. He hits a ground ball to short. Now Barry Larkin was like, "Hey, Case, we want to turn him off. We want to turn two off the bat." So it was Damian Jackson at second, Larkin at short, and Pokey Reese hits a ball to Lark. He turns it to Damian Jackson. Damian Jackson throws it to me. I catch it, boom, and I throw it back to the bucket. The guys working the bucket in center field, so I throw it to the bucket. Well, as I'm throwing it to the bucket, Jeff, Pokey's hit another ball to short. Larkin gets it, throws it to Damian. Now I didn't know a ball was hit, so I just turned like this.
Oh my God!
And Damian Jackson threw it from the side, and it caught me right here. Basically no notice, and Damian had a cannon, hit me right in the eye. I went down, fractured my orbital bone. It was just terrible. I could take it off in a stretcher. And looking back, my vision's still in that eye is a little dicey.
Wow.
But looking back, the Dr. Kremchek at the time was a dear friend of mine. He thought my career was over. He never told me that, but he told me that later after I came back. But he actually thought my career was over. He's like, I don't think this kid's going to come back from this. I had a 4-hour surgery because I had double vision. You know, the break had grabbed all the muscles in my right eye, and it was crazy. But thank the good Lord that, you know, that wasn't the story. That's not where the story ended. I ended up coming back that year, even hit 3. I came back and struggled. I think I went 2 for 36, and they sent me down. But it was good. I needed to go down because I came back after 6 weeks, which was way too fast. Went down to the minors, you know, was down there for a month, and I came back in the second half and did pretty well. And then the next year, I went to the All-Star game and all that stuff. But yeah, my career was almost over before it began, brother.
What did you think when that happened to you? Were you thinking, what the hell's happening here?
Well, I was I was. It was scary, man, because I'd never been in that kind of pain. My eye was so big, it was so swollen. And I knew it wasn't good. But you know what, dude? I honestly think I leaned in my faith a little bit and thought, hey, God's not going to give me anything I can't handle. I remember just telling me that God's going to give me nothing I can't handle, and my life's going to go wherever it's going to go. I had some peace there. And when I did come back and I did play, I was like, this is where I'm supposed to be.
Where I'm supposed to be. Did you start when you came back? Was the vision tough? Or did you feel like?
Yeah, it was tough. It was tough because I had damaged my iris, so my pupil was always like huge. So it would bring in a ton of sunlight, or the lights were so bright. So a guy that I ended up working with for years, a guy named Bill Harrison, wonderful man. He was a vision doctor out in California. He was the Reds vision guy, and he gave me these drops that I had to take. So I would take a drop like a few hours before the game. It would bring my pupil down to like a pin, like a needle. And then it would gradually come back, and I'd have to time it right where it would gradually come back, my pupil, right around game time. So it was a crazy for the first, probably year. It was definitely crazy, but I ended up, I have astigmatism in that eye. So I just had to get a different shaped contact, and it worked out fine.
That's great, man. What a comeback though. Cause like you said, that could end a career. And he got hit in the face in 1966. And split his jaw in two. I mean, his cheekbone in two. And he came back in 6 days. He was the first one to use the guard.
Was he?
Yeah.
Okay.
The first one to put it on the helmet in the National League. There was a guy that used it for Cleveland a couple of games, and that's where he got the idea. But then that became a permanent thing. But came back from that too. I mean, those are scary injuries, man.
I had another one in 2002. I got hit in the head. Robert Person, 98 miles an hour, hit me, broke my helmet, took the ear flap, blew it off, and it blew it cut my ear like so bad. I ended up having a concussion, knocked out cold. It's just great. You just do it. Baseball is more physical than you think. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This Santo moment is brought to you by Onesti Entertainment. From 1966 to 1974, Ron Santo held the National League record for assists, total chances, and double plays in a single season at third base. That was 4,532 assists, 6,777 total chances, and 389 double plays, all of which were eventually broken between 1986 and 1988 by Mike Schmidt. That Santoid was brought to you by Onesti Entertainment.
And then, so in 99, you had an all-star season, which is amazing. What'd you hit?
332. 25 bombs. Yeah. I got 99 ribbies. Just missed 100 ribbies.
Runs. I mean, you had to be the talk for MVP. Were you?
Yeah, I was in the MVP. I got some votes. I got some MVP votes. Yeah, and we had a great year too. We won 96 games as a team. It was probably my favorite team I've ever been on. And got to play in the All-Star game at Fenway that year, which was incredible.
I remember I remember watching that game, and they highlighted you because of your personality, man.
I had my video camera guy. I think I was one of the first video camera guys back in those days, but I was just like, oh, this is incredible. I got the video camera. I had Barry Larkin video my at bat from the dugout, and I think Fox was like, this is ridiculous. Who's the guy using the camera? I was like, it's Sean Casey's camera. Because, dude, I was like a little kid, dude. I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be back here again. I was like, I can't believe I'm in the big leagues. I'm at the All-Star game with the All-Century team. This is incredible. Like, that's how I kind of always looked at my career. Like, I was always a fan that was like, this is amazing that this is happening, you know? And I think that's a big reason too. Like, you know, whenever somebody wanted my autograph, I took it as an honor. I'm like, you want my autograph? You got to be kidding me. This is incredible. Like, I still feel that way. And people ask me, oh, I don't want to bother you. Like, bother me. I was like, I don't get asked anymore by anybody. I'd love to bother whoever. If whoever wants an autograph, I'll sign whatever. I'll take any picture. I'll do whatever. I don't understand sometimes when guys are like, can't take my picture, autograph. It's insanity to me. It takes more effort to be a dick than it does to, you know what I mean? Than it does to be a nice person and we can all move on.
Yeah, man. My dad always signed, and there's just something special about people like that. Being grateful and for you to be aware of like where you wore and what you're taking in. Not a lot of young people can do that. Like, I'm here. I'm going to make sure that I'm taking all this in while I compete at the highest frickin' level.
Dude, that's how I felt. That's exactly how I felt, dude. Like, and that's why I think I probably came off to people as I was genuine. It was a genuine. I think people think so. Oh man, can the guy be like this friendly? I'm like, I just love life, and it was genuine to like. I love life in general, and then to be a big leaguer, and then to do, to have some of the experiences I had. Like, come on, man, you got to be kidding me. Like, I'm all in.
Yeah, you were, man, and it was great to meet you and to get to know you and I could see it, man. Like, and to hit like you hit. I mean, that is now. You think that you were drafted 53rd because of your speed?
I mean, probably. Right. I mean, you know what? I think maybe he's drafted 53rd because they're like, well, where is he profile, that stuff, you know? And that's one thing about you know, where it can get a little dicey now in the drafting process because they're looking for all these athletes and all this stuff. And at the end of the day, Jeff, you know, with your dad and playing the game, you can't steal first, dude.
Right.
You can either hit or you can't.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, I'm getting track stars that can't get on first. You got to get on first to be a baseball player. Like, you know, you have to be able to actually hit the ball and hit it somewhere that they don't catch it or put it in play. And then you can worry about speed. So I always say, like, I would get cut at these tryouts in high school and college. And I'd be like,
right.
We just ran the 60 and I'm not on the list to come back the next day when we actually do baseball. I was like, is this for a track tryout? Is this for the track team? Or are we looking for dudes that can freaking rake? We want guys that can rake? Or are we looking for guys that can run the 60 in the 60 to 40 to 100? I don't give a shit. If I put in the gap, I can jog to second base. It doesn't matter.
You know, I did research on my dad coming through the minors, and man, he had that same thing. He doesn't have the speed though. It's like, what?
Does that matter?
What is? And I look at it like, but at the same time though, you were a great base runner. My dad was a great base runner. You hit triples. My dad led the league in triples when you're 13.
Yeah.
And that means you can run, does it?
That means you can run, dude. That's what I mean. Like, the bottom line is you don't hit doubles and triples. And I even stole. I mean, I stole like 18 bags. Right. You don't steal 18 bags if you have like, dude. Here's the bottom line with me. I ran like a slow guy. I had terrible, dude, for whatever reason, I ran across my body. Right. My hip flexors suck. So I used to drag them. So I would drag my legs with it. And I look like a slow fat guy. That's how I ran. But if you look at the body work, like if I hit a ball a little bit in the gap and you didn't come up throwing, I ran in guys' faces for doubles. Like I would like, oh my God, how do you do that? I was out of the box. I was running hard. And being a great base runner too, dude. My third base coach, Mark Berry, when I was in the big leagues, was like, Case, he's like, I'm always sending you. Because I worked so hard on like being a great base runner. My secondary leagues, I was almost at third, but I would sprint back to second. I never got picked off, but I would always score. And it used to piss me off with guys that are faster than me getting thrown out on a single up the middle or the right, because they're not working their butt off at second base on a secondary lead. And I'm like, you don't need to be the fastest guy to play this game. You got to be smart. You got to know what you're doing. You got to know how to work hard out here. Yep. But like, I wasn't the fastest guy, but at the end of the day, does that really matter, dude? Like, I want dudes that can hit. Yeah. I want dudes that can play the game. I want guys that can run the bases. I want guys that are smart out there. So, you know, it's It's awesome.
And that the baseball IQ, you had a high baseball IQ, my dad too, and you guys sometimes I think you got out of the box a little slow. That's why you might have hit in a lot of double plays, right?
Right.
But once you got out of that box, you were ready. You were seeing it all. And I remember, like my dad would say, because when my dad played, they would have to negotiate their 1-year contracts, right? Going in with the GM.
What I know, isn't that crazy?
Yeah, right. And my dad would go. He goes, every time I walked out of there with John Holland, I was like, God, I must have sucked. Because he would throw these stats at me, like, you hit in 27 double plays, you did this, you did that. And it's like at the end of the day, stats that aren't even on the back of a baseball card, that's how they would get you. But I
went to arbitration. That's what I mean. I went to arbitration one year. I had just hit 330 with 25 and 99 ribbies. And then the next year I hit 315, 20 bombs, 85 ribbies, off the charts numbers. Like if you look at them now, and I was one of only 2 guys, I think, they hit 20 homers and over 315 2 years in a row. A-Rod was the other guy, right? And here we are at arbitration. They're like, this guy's a base clogger. This guy, this and that. I'm like, really? That's what we're here talking about? Like, the base cloggers are the guys that don't get on. The base cloggers are the guys that can't play the game. You have to get on first to play the game. Yeah. So, like, the base cloggers are the dudes that can't hit. You know what I mean? Like, the only reason you think I'm a base clogger is I'm on base all the time.
Oh, man. Right. I got to ask you this, being an MLB analyst, what is going on with hitters today? Like, what do you think where baseball's moving? Are they – I know they're going to do maybe the 6th-inning starter staying in for 6 innings. What do you think needs to happen here to correct what analytics has done?
I just think – I don't know. That's the $1 million question. If you could answer that. I think the pitching, is as far as like better, what I mean is like more guys throw harder. The facts are the average velocity now is 94.4 miles an hour is the average velocity. So you're seeing more velo, no doubt about it. I do think the defense is better. I think the defense positioning is better. I think they have that down to a science.
Yeah,
I think that hurts guys. But I also think the process of an at-bat, how they teach these guys, I think more baseball players need to get back in the business of coaching, because there's a lot of guys that aren't coaching that, and I think that more of an analytics part of the brain is now coaching these players. So they're seeing it differently. You know what I mean? Like that. And I think baseball at times is losing a little bit of that toughness, that grit, that resiliency, like you're talking about the pitchers going 2 times through the order. They, back in the day, it was like, you got to go 7 innings to make sure the bullpen's not taxed for over 6 months. Now they're like, hey, if you get through 5, that's good. We'll go to the pen. So there's so many different things, but I think the hitters, I think the process could be better. And I think, I just think that, I don't know, dude. I wish I had the answer. All those things I said, the pitching, the velo, but the pitching's a little different. The way they teach these guys in the pitch labs to shape the balls, cutters, sinkers. Everyone's throwing all these pitches, but I just think there's a reason guys are still hitting 330, 340 because they can hit. So like the process of hitting and the mentality of hitting is, could be better, I think.
Yeah, and simplify it, right? Get off the iPads, man. I don't know what you're putting in your head before you're getting them to the plate,
Yeah, well, guys aren't watching the game as much. Guys are doing it in their bats and they're looking at the iPads and then thgoing out to the field, It's like, watch the game. Yeah. This guy's going to show you a lot, how he pitches to so-and-so, that left-handed hitter. I'm watching, he's going to do the same thing to me. What do you start him off with? What do you try to wipe him out with,
That first pitch, when you get up for that first pitch, it's just, to me, it's simple. If he throws a heater down the middle, I'm swinging. Anything else, I'm gonna take it maybe. You know what I mean?
Dude, I'm keyholing him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just like, and 2 strikes. Make sure you hit anything close.
Right, dude. If it's too close to take, it's too close. Guys are taking pitches. I'm like, hey, that's a ball. I'm like, it's too close to take, dude.
Absolutely. Now, you became the hitting coach for the Yankees last year. What was that experience like?
It was incredible, man. It was incredible. Aaron Boone's a great friend of mine. We played together 6 years with the Reds. But, when you get a chance to be the hitting coach for guys like Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton and Anthony Rizzo and Anthony Volpe, there were just so many, DJ LeMahieu, it was an incredible experience, man. I am so grateful I got to do that. So grateful I got to learn more about the game. But there's nothing like being in the dugout and being in the trenches with those guys and trying to make a difference in their play. So it was incredible. And dude, being in pinstripes and being for the Yankees, everyone should have an opportunity to do that. You're a true rock star when you're in pinstripes. It's incredible.
Right, yeah. Tell me about Judge, man. What makes him so phenomenal?
Bro, the guy, what makes him phenomenal is the hours of work he puts in every single day before the game starts. You know, I mean, he is his meaning for playing. You know, I think true grit lies in meaning. What's your meaning for doing anything? Because if your meaning's there, your effort will be there, and that's what grit is. And I look at Judgy like cold plunging before he goes out to his tea routine at 4:00, and then he goes back up and does his BP routine. Then he goes and does his foam rolling his hips out and all these things, and then he gets his all these different things that he has to do, the mundane things of every day. Then he got his 6:30 tea routine he comes back to. Then he goes out and dominates as the best player in the world. And like, what impressed me the most is just how meticulous he was with his routine and just mastering the mundane of that. And also, bro, when your best person's your best player, that means everything. So that C on his chest, he's a real leader, dude. He leads from the front. He's a real captain, and guys get in line and follow him, man. Guys are 100% the real deal. One of the nicest people I've ever met in my life.
Yeah, wow. That's it, man. It's the hard work. It's putting it in every day, and that's how you become great. There's no doubt. In anything you do, you got to do that. Now, tell me a couple of things. I know you got to get rolling here. Tell me one of the great stories in the game when you played. You got so many of them.
Oh man, so many great stories, bro. I'd say one of my favorite stories was Jim Leland obviously just went into Cooperstown. One of the greatest, the greatest manager ever. And I'm biased. I played with him for a couple of years. But Leland was the best because he remembered how hard the game was. Like, he never made the big leagues. He played so many years as a player, and I think he was in the minors for 18 years before he ever got that first job with Tony La Russa on the White Sox staff in the early 80s. So I always loved that about him. But he was tough. He was demanding. He demanded that you do well. You know what I mean? Or obviously you didn't play. I mean, he didn't really care who you were at times. So in April, I come out the gate scuffling. I'm hitting like $120. I can't drive in a run. I'm blaming the weather. It's 32 degrees. It's flurrying in Detroit, but it really wasn't the weather. It was me. I was terrible. I remember this one night driving home, Jeff. I'm like, you know what? And I'm hitting every day early with Lloyd McClendon. So I'm like, I'm taking the swings. I'm doing everything I can. I'm overthinking it. And I was like, you know what? I'm not being aggressive enough. I'm being too passive. I got to start being aggressive. I go, tomorrow I'm first pitch hacking. If they throw the Rosenberger up there, I'm taking a rip. I don't give a shit. You know what I mean? So on the night home back to my house after the game, it's like midnight. I'm driving down the highway and I'm like, aggressive. I couldn't wait for tomorrow. I'm like, tomorrow's the day, aggressive. So sure enough, I get to the park. That batting practice, I don't think I hit every ball into the stands. I don't think I hit one ball in play. I was crushing balls. I was just aggressive. So sure enough, I get out there at 6:45, about to run my sprints, and then get out to the game, wait for that first at bat, get that first pitch, be ready to go. I'm not going to be passive anymore. Leland says, "Hey, Case, can I talk to you real quick?" Because he's always in the dugout about 6:30, ripping a couple of heaters, got his spikes on before the game starts, So he comes like, "Yeah, what's up, Skip?" So me and him are in the dugout having a conversation. He's like, "Hey, listen," he goes, "I've been scouting Sean Casey for a long time." He goes, "The Sean Casey I know, he's patient." And I'm like, oh my God, is this guy saying this to me right now? 15 minutes before I'm going to go out and be William Wallace and charge the freaking Scottish, you know what I mean? I'm going to charge the English. I'm about to freaking dominate. This guy wants me to give me a pep talk and be impatient. So I'm like, oh my gosh, Jim Leland, though, respect the guy so much. And my manager, he's like, tonight I think you should go up there, take a few pitches, settle into your at-bats. I'm like, oh my, this is incredible. So you can only imagine, I get up there, first at bat, punch out, go through the game. I get a fifth at bat this game. I'm like, oh man, this is, when you're struggling, you don't want the fifth at bat. Fifth at bat, I punch out, 0 for 5, 2 punchies. I'm hitting like a 104. I'm like, I'm getting sent down as soon, right? So I go over to the water cooler. Thank God we're good because we're winning. We're still winning the game. So I'm getting my water, and all of a sudden I come over. pack of Marlboro, like hits me, smoke hits me in the face. Turn to my right, it's Leland. He's in my face. He pauses for a second. He points at my face. He's dead serious. He goes, if you ever take my advice on hitting again, he goes, I'm sending your ass to AA. He goes, I got no idea what I'm talking about. He goes, I was 0 for August one time as a player. And he walked off. And I was like, that man's a genius. You know, I was like, that's what an incredible conversation. If you ever take my advice to hitting again, I'm sending you as AA. So I ended up getting it going. I think I was hitting almost 300 by the break. I hit 450 in May or something. I hit 450 in May, I think. But it was just such a great story. Back to Leland, you know, saying that to me and like grabbing me. It was incredible.
That's because you're being so dutiful, right? Because like, you had a plan, which was the right one, your gut. And then
this is my 10th year in the big leagues. I'm a career 300 hitter. I got a guy that didn't play one day in the show telling me how to hit, and I'm like,
wow, that is a great story, man. And the mayor, when you got they called you the mayor. You talked to everyone at first base when I came there. What was your thing on
I
that?
just loved it, dude. I got to just, you know, it was pretty basic to like, hey, way to swing it, or man, you're really hot right now, or how the kids doing, how's your wife, or like, you know, great weather out, you know, whatever it was. It was Joan Casey. It was my mom. It was the small talk.
Did you do that to intimidate them, or
no, my God, never. And one time when I was a rookie, only one time this happened. Ron Vallone was on the mound. I don't know if you remember the big rig lefty. Yeah. And I just come up from that eye injury with the Reds, and Henry Rodriguez, you know, O. Henry with the Expos. Every time he homered in Montreal, they'd send those O. Henry bars on the field. So I thought that was cool. Like I said, I was still like the little kid fan. I was 23. So Henry Rodriguez singled, got on first base in Cincy. He gets his lead, and I'm holding him on, and I'm just like, hey, I'm like, that's really cool when you homer in Montreal and they throw those O. Henry bars on the field. And he turns to me, he's like, hey, thanks. Right when he turns to look at me, Jeff, Ron Vallone, step off pick. I catch the ball, and he's looking at me. I'm like, bro, I am so sorry. I tag him out. I'm like, I'm never going to do that again. I felt so bad. He looked at me like, are you serious? I'm like, dude, I swear to God, I'm a rookie. I'm hitting $170. I just got back up here from an eye injury. I am so excited to talk to you. I did not mean for that to happen. My bad.
Dude, is that I did when I did research on you, man, not only you played, you know, your college ball and you're hit 461 your last season, but you were in a fraternity too?
Oh, yeah, it was this fraternity, Sig Ep. Yeah, Sigma Phi Epsilon.
Is that the fraternity guy in you right there? Because they say don't fraternize between the lines, man.
Probably. It probably was, dude. It probably was, man. Oh, my God. Well, dude, the times changed a little bit. You know, when you would talk to guys, some of the old school guys, but hey, man, no fraternizing. But now you see the guys are hugging each other before the game. So there was still that line was starting to gray when I came up in the big league.
You kind of took the transition. You went with it.
Yeah.
Maybe the guy that took it to the other place.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's just you, though, which is great. It's genuine. Like you said, you're not doing for any other reasons than just being.
Yeah, and I was never doing it to pick you off, and I did that one time, and I felt so bad. So that never happened again.
Yeah, you're like a little leaguer out there. You're like,
yeah, exactly, dude. I mean, I was having conversations that rookie year with McGuire and Sosa in the middle of the 98 season. It was my rookie year. Dude, I was in freaking heaven, dude. I was in heaven.
Oh, man. Well, last question here, man. You have four kids and 2 boys, right?
Yeah.
Sons. And you said they're playing ball. How's that going for them?
It's going great. My one son just played 2 years at Dayton, just graduated. He didn't play his last 2 years, but it was incredible. Great kid, loves basketball, loves baseball, great athlete. I mean, these kids are so much better athletes than I was. It's incredible. My other son is a senior at Kent State, just had Tommy John surgery, but coming back from, he's an outfielder, good player, big power. But dude, I've had more fun watching them play than it was fun for me ever playing. So there's something about being a dad that's just incredible. I got 2 daughters too that I love to death. I'm dropping my oldest daughter off for her freshman year starting at Fordham this weekend. So I'm a mess emotionally, you know what I mean? I can feel the sadness coming, but you know, so it's, I'm very grateful. I mean, I take being a father probably as the greatest job I've ever had in my life. And I'm very, very grateful, man.
That's awesome, man.
And one other thing, Jeff, like taking that Yankee job last year, my kids were so young. They weren't like you in the clubhouse. They weren't in the clubhouse till they were like 6 and 7.
Right.
No, they never really saw me play. So last year when I was with the Yankees, my daughters came up. They brought their friends. My son, was with me in the club. Both my sons in the clubhouse with me a few times. I got my son to hit BP at Yankee Stadium in Atlanta in PNC Park. So like some experiences I was able to have with them were incredible. And so I'm so grateful for that experience to have shared it with them, and it was awesome.
Do you think they have a shot to make it?
You know what? I think my son does. Yeah. My oldest son, Jake, definitely does. I mean, my youngest son, Jake, definitely has a shot to play. So we'll see. I think if there wasn't 20 rounds this year, I think he would have got drafted a little later, but I do think he has a chance to get drafted. Dude, an opposite player than me. He's a 6'5", 60 runner, flies, center fielder, and has light tower power, dude. Light tower power. Like legit. Man. But he's a lot of swing and miss. So it's like, it's the opposite. I didn't have a lot of swing and miss.
Yeah.
Didn't have the power that he had, but I didn't run the way he ran.
Do you work with them? Like, what do you do for them? Like, do you give them that mindset, like what it's like to be out there?
Yeah, I think it's more of the mindset stuff. I do work with them hitting wise. I did tell him though, I go, dude, you need to work with somebody else hitting because I've taken you to a certain spot. And my voice, I'm still dad. At the end of the day, you're still dad. So, like, you can only take your kids so far with that.
I always looked at that like my dad. I wish he gave us the mindset. He didn't really, because he was who he was, but we hung out in the clubhouse, so we kind of took it on ourselves. But that's a big deal, I think. I think more sons are getting that from their dads today in modern day baseball, and that's why you're seeing more sons make it, I think.
That's everything, dude. The mindset's everything. And, dude, a shameless plug here. But I started a mental performance coaching program for that reason about a couple of years ago. It's called breakthrough-pro.com. Breakthrough Pro it's called. But if you go to breakthrough-pro.com, if you have a kid out there, if you have a kid that's, that's playing baseball or just anybody, it's really for anybody. We have it for, I always say breakthrough pro people, make better baseball players, better CEOs, better directors, better whatever you do in life. So like, are you able to go in? Are you able to slow down? Do you know how to breathe? Do you know how to get visual? So I believe that's probably the most important thing, dude.
That's great, man. And what's next for you, Sean?
You know what, man? I'm still doing the Major League Baseball Network stuff, which I love. Yeah. I told you I had this mental performance coaching program, which is really a passion of mine, Breakthrough Pro. And I have a charity called the Miracle League of the South Hills where we, Casey's Clubhouse, I have 450 special needs kids we serve, and we have a baseball field for them and a playground for them. And so I'm highly involved in that. So, and then I got a daughter that's going to be a freshman in high school. So still raising her, making sure that, we're getting good Caseys in the next generation.
Right on, man. It was so great to have you on and to meet you at the camp. We had a ball. Yeah. And you're just a fantastic guy, man. You really are. And you got some rhythm too, man. I got to tell you, at EV's party, you
saw me dancing, didn't you?
Yeah, you could dance, you could sing. Dude,
when EV brought me up there to sing with him, I'm like, I'm in, bro. Let's get it on. You know what I mean? When are you ever going to get a chance to sing with Ed Vedder? And I appreciate that video. Could you send me that video again? Because we had no service and it came a little grainy. Send it to me again if you can.
Again, man. That was outstanding. It was awesome, great meeting your wife too, man. All right.
Yeah, it was great meeting your wife too. Yeah, Jeff, you're the best, dude. I appreciate the time, man. And looking forward to seeing you down the road at some point, brother.
Can't wait till next time we see each other. All right, Case. Thanks, bud.
Take care, big man.
Have a good day. See you, pal.
You too.
This Old Cub, the documentary about former 9-time All-Star third baseman, broadcaster, and Chicago Cubs legend Ron Santo and his lifelong battle with diabetes. Santo was the first major league position player to play professional baseball with type 1 diabetes, insulin dependent. This Old Cub captures the spirit of a man and his will to achieve. Santo is the ultimate optimist and therefore the ultimate Cub. Buy the DVD at santofilms.com. We also have t-shirts and other merchandise. Go to santofilms.com or santofilms.bigcartel.com.
Crackerjack.
Hello. This call is being recorded.
Rosie.
Hello. Hey, what's up, big guy? How are you?
You're my crackerjack call for the podcast.
Oh my goodness. Well, that's appropriate.
It is, man. It is. It's been too long, man. I've been meaning to call you because there's two guys that grew up so close to our house when my dad was in the thick of it with the Cubs in Valley Low, and that was Terry and you.
Yep.
So, and I talked to Terry, and I got Rosie, what year did you move into Valley Low?
So it was probably 1970, maybe. I'm that probably 70, 71, something right around there.
Yeah. Okay. I think it had to be 70 probably because I think I met Terry first. I believe.
Did you?
I think so.
Like
yeah. He came across.
That.
He came across when were they built? Because the condominiums across from our house were built like I think in '69, and they were still being built when you moved in, right?
We bought a new one. I know that. My dad had passed. He died in a car accident in the spring of '69. So
wow.
That's a marker. I mean, I know that date, and so it was after that. My mom wanted a fresh start, and so she moved me and my sister into those townhomes across the street from where you lived.
Right, man. You talk about your dad. I'm glad you brought that up, man. Because growing up with you, we just, we knew something happened. I mean, I knew of the accident, but boy, we really never ever even talked about it much. How was that for you, buddy?
And I don't know why I didn't talk about it. I think there was a big sense of like embarrassment. It's like they used to have at OLPH, the father-son pancake breakfast. And I'm like, you know what? I don't get to go to that one. My mom would always say, I'll take you, Jimmy. And I'm like, I'm not going with you, Mom, even though she was great. So, it was something I think just wanted to kind of sweep under the rug because I wanted to be normal. And I think if I talked about it and used it as some type of a crutch or an excuse or anything, I wouldn't be looked at equally. So it was kind of one of these things, back in the day when we were kids, a lot of parents were really never home. Dads were traveling salesmen. They were on the road all the time. Your dad was on the road all the time. So a lot of times you didn't ask about the parents because you didn't see them all the time. And so, because, no one asked, I really didn't tell anyone, so, that was, I think the history. I never really had a reason to bring it up.
It's crazy because today you probably talk about it more, right? I mean, think about that. 69, you're 7 years old, and your dad gets killed in a car accident. And what was that like? Do you remember what that was like for you as a kid?
So
like
I remember
when you got the news.
I do. It was a Saturday morning, and I was watching, one of three channels back in the day, right? And it was, what did you do every Saturday morning? You ate some kind of like sugar-filled cereal and you watched cartoons, right? That was Saturday, right?
Totally.
I remember sitting there, watching the cartoons, and a bunch of policemen showed up at the door, and it was knocking on the door, talking to my mom, telling her that her husband had been in a fatal car accident and he wasn't coming home. And my mom, I think she just recognized the fact that she had two kids, that she didn't cry. She kind of just took it all in and, closed the door, and then, then had to think about making all the arrangements. But, she told me, all I remember is that, Daddy's not coming home, anymore. And I'm, trying to, as a 7-year-old, process that. Well, what does that mean? He's not coming home anymore.
Right.
This is back before you knew what a divorce was. This is back before you do anything. It was just, Dad's not coming home. And it didn't really process for me. I know my mom, I think she didn't cry for like 3 months, and then she cried for 3 weeks. It was one of those things where, the shock effect takes over, and you basically just process to survive. And that's what she did. And, it changed a lot of things. It really made me, try hard to fit in. Like I said earlier, it's like I wanted to be, I didn't want this to be my thing. I wanted to be a normal kid And so that's why I probably kind of kept it in the background and just went about doing, trying to be a normal kid like everyone else.
Wow, Rosie. I mean, growing up with you, you looking back now and you just go, holy moly, and how normal you did behave, I'm not saying that didn't affect you psychologically in places that, I'm sure where, as my upbringing did, right? In certain ways, you just don't know that. But man, and your mom was a champ, man. I got to say that Joan was unbelievable,
Well, a funny aside from it all is that, after this all happened and we moved, and I somehow developed this nervous tick with my face, and I was doing this thing with my nose, almost like a bunny rabbit, and my mom was looking at me and she was like, "Oh shit, what are you doing, you weirdo?" She's like, "Stop that," and I didn't even know I was doing it. And then, so what did she do to get me to get rid of that? She got me, I don't know if you remember this, but she was involved in the theater, and she threw my butt up on stage. And when I got up on stage and had to memorize lines, I kind of was conscious about what I was doing, and it went away. And so it's and those early thespian years that I had as a kid, they went on to serve me really well in life because, give me an audience, give me a room. I own my own company, but if you give me a chance to present in front of a bunch of people, I'm the first guy to raise my hand because I don't get stage fright like a lot of people do, and I really attribute it to a lot of those, early times up on stage in front of the the congregation or the community that got me past any fears of public speaking.
Wow, what was the theater group your mom was in?
It was part of the church. I know there was the one thing I remember is I was in my very first play was called Numbskull Jack, and I was Numbskull Jack, which was looking back on it now, I'm like, why did I take that role? But you
were Numbskull Jack, and I was Jack and the Beanstalk.
There you go.
Did you know I was Jack and the Beanstalk in 6th grade?
I vaguely remember that. I do.
Well, you were a year older, and you weren't at my school. You were at OLPH.
Right.
But God, yeah, man, I didn't know that you were that early, going up on stage. That's crazy. I've known you for how long? And these kind of things.
I think
where did you move from,
when we did the
Rosie?
25th Man, I think that's why I fell into that role fairly easily.
Right. I know, of course, man. You got it in you, of course. You could see it all day long. But I just never knew the roots of that early. That's kind of like crop. Where did you grow up before you came to Valley Low at 7?
So we lived in a rented townhome in Wilmette on Hibbard Road.
Wow.
And that's where we lived up until my my dad passed.
Well, I just remember seriously, I can't remember that you not being there. You probably weren't there for a year, and then there you were, right? Because I think Terry was the first kid I met, and then you the second. And wow, man, just crazy on that, and just to see where you came from. I see, you and Terry both became very successful, and you just see it. You see it because you guys were up against the wall in a lot of different areas, different ways, but up against the wall more than obviously us. We were in Fantasyland across the street from you. So
right, well, we got to play in that Fantasyland too, though.
Yeah, you did, man. Yeah, you did. What was do you remember? What do you remember most about going to Wrigley with us?
So it would be obviously a summer morning, and we would get up early, and we'd hop in your dad's Cadillac, right, and we'd all. We'd all drive down to the stadium, and then there's big chain link fence, and we got to be the snot-nosed kids with our faces up against the rear view, the rear windows, looking at all the people standing on the outside as we pulled into the chain link player parking area only, and then we'd get out of the car, and you guys were important because you were Ron's, sons. I was important because I was with Ron's sons. So it gave me a sense of empowerment as well. That that really it was such a blessing to have that. To have that experience. Once we would get into the players' lot, then we'd go into that back entrance by left field and go down underneath into the clubhouse where we would typically grab some food because they had all this food laying around, whether it be sunflower seeds or bubble gum or something else. And then we'd grab a mitt. You'd grab one of your dad's mitts. I'd grab, I think Rick Monday was one of the mitts I'd grab because he happened to be a lefty like me. And we'd grab mitts, and then we'd go out on the field and shag batting practice balls. And that was back in the day when, security. There was no security. you were on the field because you knew someone important. And that was it was a different time back then, but it was a blast.
Yeah, totally, man. Like it was like a maze going in that back wall there. Then you go down to the locker room, right? You go in the little alleyway by the bleachers, and you cut down into the locker room, and then boom, we get the two doors there. One door to the clubhouse, then the next door to the field. Yeah, man. I could just see it, right? And just pop out of that field with no one on it, and here we go. Yeah, something else.
And then being at Wrigley Field in the clubhouse and on the field. Of course, that wasn't enough for us. Then we had to get, into our mischievous, activities. Like, you remember when we had those, there was like some little device you held in your hand, and you would tape like a $5 bill to the end of it.
Oh, yeah.
And you'd stick it around the corner, and then people would reach down to get the $5 bill, and you'd snap it back in your hand and laugh at them because you were on the other side of the fence.
Dude, we did all that. I think we did that mostly at Comiskey, man. I don't know, but we were. That was Ronnie leading that parade. So
of course it was.
But
of course we were just followers. I got to ask you on knowing my dad, like being a kid around my dad. What was it like what'd you think of him as a person, as a kid? Well, I hold a special place in my heart for him, because he, not only did I not have a dad, but he reached out to me and gave me some of the things that I, had taken away from me. And so he was kind of like, I'll tell people, I'm like, he was kind of a surrogate dad to me. He kind of included me, everything his kids got to do, I got to do as well. There was like, well, no, Jimmy, you can't do this because it's just for my kids. He was just super generous with, his time, with his, the way he engaged with me. I think in a way, he had a really big heart, and he kind of felt sorry for me. He knew me as Jones' kid. He kind of knew, the path I had gone against, and he was really, I think, went out of his way. He did it for Terry as well, but I think he did it for both of us. He made us both feel like we were special, and that was an amazing feeling coming from someone that was a superstar. It's like he was the only superstar I knew. And so it was really quite an experience to be honored by that type of attention.
Wow, man. Wow, yeah. Did you like know of him and us being there before you came over to our house, however that happened? Because I know that Ivana Contino was a babysitter with you before us, and I had Ivana on, and she said you were a quiet guy. I'm like, oh, now I get why she said that. Just talking to you today, out of all the years we've known each other, I knowing that your dad passed, but we didn't take it in like you take it in now. From all the distance of everything, and go, because you start, the older we get, the more we go back to that childhood, and really think of those roots. But
I think any 7-year-old, of course, we know who Ron Santa was. Maybe I knew Ernie Banks better because he maybe had a more popular name. I don't know. I mean, going back so many years, I don't recall, but I certainly knew who Ron was. I knew who. I knew who they all were. I mean, it's just, that lineup, I think I knew all of them because, you got to remember back in the day when we were growing up, there weren't so many distractions. I mean, I didn't have a phone. I only had three TV stations, so there wasn't as much of a distraction to maybe know who the local baseball team is. And obviously growing up on the north side, I mean, I knew there was a team on the south side, but I didn't know anything about them.
Right, and plus WGN was playing then too, right? We were watching Bozo and all that stuff.
Yeah, WGN. That was the fourth channel, right?
That was the fourth channel, buddy. That was really the channel, though. You think about it. You're waking up to Ray Rayner, So that was the Chicago channel for sure, and that was huge. And the White Sox, they were, unfortunately on 32, and we only went there usually for what was that like? those horror films on at night.
Well,
that
it was
we
bad
watched.
reception. You had that UHF round antenna in the back of the black and white TV, and it just wasn't easy to get them, even if you wanted them.
Yeah. But now, did you meet my mom? Now, talk about my mom too, man. Like, as far as, did you meet her first? How'd that go?
I don't know. You know, your mom, Judy, was always. If I talk about your dad being, just another parent to me, your mom most certainly was. You know, my mom, because of the situation we were in, my dad passed. Yeah, that was bad. And then, my mom, didn't know a lot about business. She really had never worked. And, she ended up giving the modest insurance money we got from my dad's car accident to my godfather, who was kind of my dad's friend. And he was around for about a year, and then he took the money and ran. So now we were, without a father, and we were like poor. And so my mom, she worked retail. She worked a lot of retail, and so I relied on dinner at your guys' house, often. And your mom, I think if you asked her today, what did Jimmy eat? It was like barbecue ribs and dinner rolls. That was like the thing that she knew that if she threw dinner rolls and barbecue ribs on a table, or pizza, I was going to be fine. But she was really there for me a lot. She was always making sure that, I was fed and making sure that, I got home on time. And she was really, an amazing parent as well, just like your father, from kind of like a neighborhood parent that she was. I think she was like that for all the kids in the neighborhood.
Yeah, man. And you guys were over every Thanksgiving, you and your mom. And your sisters at times.
We would come. You guys would invite us over every Thanksgiving because we had a very small family, and so we'd get invited over at Thanksgiving, and we'd see all the friends and family that would come over, and it was a wonderful feast for sure.
It was, wasn't it, man? And you guys also went to spring training. You started going there a couple seasons, I remember, right? You and your mom.
We went to We started going out to spring training. My mom needed a break, and so we'd saved our money. We'd go out to spring training, and that lasted a few years. And then 1 year, I didn't play as much baseball as you and Ronnie and Terry. As you know, my sport was hockey. I was a hockey player, right?
Yeah. How did you learn hockey, man? Because I don't remember. You were always good in hockey, and I'm thinking, how did you learn how to skate? We put the boards up, and here you come. I'm like, holy shit, this guy's a superstar. Where did you learn how to skate?
I grew up in Wilmette, and I played in some very early leagues as like a 4-year-old. I actually, they had some very early things, and I skated very, very young. And then when I came to Valley Low, I just kept on playing it. I really enjoyed that sport. We had the frozen lake behind your house.
Yep.
Your dad would get all the union guys out there to put up the boards, to put up the lights, to put up the goalposts. They had all the union guys out there putting stuff up. And then we'd get it flooded like once or twice a year when the ice got kind of crappy. And so it was kind of my sport that I played often.
Yeah, you were good. So was that your dad that got you into that, buddy, at 4?
I don't think so. My dad played baseball. My dad actually was drafted by the Detroit Tigers. I still have the hat that he had when he was on. He was like on a AAA team for them way back when. And he got drafted, and my dad, I didn't have a hard life. My dad had a hard life. My dad was one of 6 boys. His dad took off, left the mom at home with 6 boys. She died. The mom died. So now there's 6 boys with the grandma, and the grandma says, I can only take 3. I can't take all 6. I just can't afford it. So she put my 3 of my dad's brothers in an orphanage in New York City, and they all died in the orphanage.
Jesus, buddy, this is crazy, man. How can I know none of this stuff? You are Mr. Secretive. I mean, we just didn't talk about this stuff. We didn't go into that. That would have knocked me on my ass as a kid.
That's how bad it was. And then so what happened is they grow up with the grandma. And the grandma's taking care of them, and they're very poor. They're kind of kids with shoes and holes in the bottom of their shoes. And so my dad, he's playing sandlot baseball, and he gets drafted by the Tigers, and he goes off to play. Well, he's about to go play, and he's got to leave New York. And he goes to his 2 brothers and says, "Hey, I got drafted. I got to go. I got to go play." And they basically said, no, we're not taking care of Grandma because she was old at that point. It's like, you got to stay and take care of her. Forget your damn baseball thing. You take care of her. So he gave up his baseball thing to take care of his grandmother. And so when he passed, his two brothers were not even invited to the funeral. So there was a lot of, just resentment from my father for having his kind of career taken away from two selfish brothers. And so I never got to really know any of that side of the family because my dad despised him for what happened. And so at the end of the day, that's why I was with you guys for Thanksgiving every year because we didn't have nowhere else to go.
Wow, buddy. Yeah. I knew it was just the three of you all the time, right? But just not going into the depth of your father's story. We knew that your dad passed with just the depth of everything and knowing the details of it. Yeah. And I'm sure I heard a story years ago, but really to now we haven't talked to each other, been around each other for a long period of times for a while. But we spent our childhood together, that's for sure, buddy. And I got to say, where you've gone, man, it's beautiful to see. Everything good? Yeah. I went from growing up in Glenview, I moved and I went down to the city like all young guys, and I moved to California for a couple of years, and I moved to Atlanta. Supposed to be like a stopover, and I've been here like 25 years. And I live on a small farm down here. I'm a farmer. I set my alarm last night for 2:30 because I have a cow that's about to give birth any day. And I had to make sure she didn't break her water. So I was out there 2:30 in the morning with a flashlight looking in the cow's butt. So oh, that's funny, but that's great.
Different type of lifestyle.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, I hope to run into you soon. I do want to ask a couple more things with you because you weren't a great baseball player, but you played. Excellent hockey player, but you are also an excellent 16-inch softball player. And for the Chicago people out there, I don't think there was really – I put you up with any pitcher in 16-inch softball. You at the top of the heap for sure, buddy.
Well, thank you.
I
like to be good. You got to believe you're good, and I firmly believed I was a really good 16-inch softball pitcher. It made a little bit. I was a lefty, so that always threw a little bit of a curveball to a batter, so it's coming from the wrong side. And I could put that ball, 35, 40 feet in the air, and it would drop in the well of the plate. So, it was something that I had a knack for. I enjoyed it. I guess I got to feel like every play started with me. I was in control of the whole thing because, without me throwing the ball, the left fielder, Chris Dennis, he just had to stand there and hope someone hit it to him. But I was involved in every single play. Yeah. And, if you ask my wife today, she'd say that's because you're a control freak. But I would just like to say that because I like to shine, and that was my way of shining.
Yeah, I grew up with you. I didn't see you as much as a control freak because, like you said, we had so much. So there's no way I could. And I don't think I was a control freak either. We all had fun.
Right.
But I do have to say the 16. You had an art form to pitching in 16-inch, and we have to say too, we did win. We were on Spiro's Deli. Peter's dad sponsored us. We had a great team. I was a better baseball player, obviously, than a softball player, but I was a decent softball player. But you and Terry O'Brien, you guys were amazing softball players. You both had that sport down. And we had Peter was great too, man. And Chris Dennis, like you said, and Hendy, and God, the team was. And did we win three of them, buddy? How many did we win?
I don't think we ever lost.
What? No, there was. We didn't get there all the time. How many years were there? Like 5 that we played.
You want to know something funny?
What?
I still have that jacket, the Spiro's jacket with the patches on it that has all the years that we won.
Oh, we got to ask Peter what the years are. Yeah, man.
I don't know where the jacket is, but it's in some closet of mine here. That I saw it about 6 months ago. I'm like, I still got that thing. So, yeah. That
man, and you could hit too. As a lefty, you were a good hitter too, man. You could take it the other way.
One of the things that Terry and I did, Terry, because Terry and I were similar type hitters. We weren't like Hendy. We weren't like Pat Walsh. We weren't like Sly. We were not putting the ball over anyone's head, but we were picking hitting the line drives to the alleys, and that's how we got on base. And we got to be good at it. It was more of a process than it was just hitting for power.
Yeah. Yeah. You hit some deep balls sometimes, though. You did. Yeah, you hit some deep balls.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, last one I got to ask. Like Terry, I have to say this because you and Terry are about the same age. Terry's a little younger, but you guys are in the same grade. I'm in the grade lower than you. You know, you're in the grade between me and Ronnie, right?
Yep.
Why both you guys became more my friend than Ronnie's? And it's not to put Ronnie down or anything. Well, just give me it as a kid. What was the feeling when you came over between me and Ronnie?
So I think there's probably a couple of reasons, and I'm thinking about this on the fly, obviously. I think one of the reasons was that Ronnie was older and he didn't want anything to do with us younger kids. It's like he was too cool for us. It's like, yeah, I'm not dealing with those young kids. It's like, you know, I'm off hanging out with my buddies, you know, my class of 1979. So I think part of it was that. I think the other thing goes back to our conversation a few minutes ago about the control freak. You know, Ronnie was a little bit of a control freak. You know, so I think with me, you, and Terry, we were all, you know, a third, and with Ronnie, it was like 90-10. You know, pretty much. It's like Ronnie's way or no way. You know.
That's so true, man. And there's something about it. That class of '79. I always said this, Rosie. It started after that. It changed. They were kind of the last of like that. I don't know if it's a runoff of the hippie generation. That, you know.
Yep.
There was just something about them that then it started to get a little bit more normal.
Yeah, so. Absolutely. Cool.
Hey, buddy. So good having you on, man.
Thanks for the surprise call. It's like. I talked to you like 2 months ago, but I was not expecting this call, so kind of cracked me up.
It's awesome. Really cool call, man, and just loved what we talked about, pal. And
good,
you were love you too, pal. You were a big part of my childhood. We were together, high school, all through, man.
Yeah,
you know,
it was. You know, I look back, and you know, it was really. I can't imagine a better childhood. You know, you know, it was just, it was great in so many ways, you know, from the trips to spring training, to the random trip to the Astrodome, you know, to the trip to the Lake of the Ozarks when we almost blew up the boat. I mean, there was just, you know, so many fabulous memories that are just, you know, it's funny because it seems like those early memories are engraved deeper than probably the last 30 years of my life, you know, and so it's interesting how those early impressions just last a lifetime.
They do, man. And it's so cool to hear that from you, pal, after we just went in depth about your dad, and to know that you say that. And it's just amazing, man. Amazing.
Yeah. Well, hey, buddy.
All right, buddy.
Thanks for the call.
I'll talk to you soon. All right. Love you, pal. Talk to you,
buddy.
Soon.
Okay. Later, bye.
All right. See you, buddy.
Later, bye.
Thanks for listening to our show. Special thanks to our cool crackerjacks, Scott Nelson, Jim McCauley, Debbie Foley, Sherry Matarisi, Terry O'Brien, Gary Tallman, Anne-Marie Piscule, Jim Yoschlegel, Liz Rutherford, and Mac McPhillamy.
This show is made possible because of them and all our subscribers. If you want to support the show and be a cool crackerjack yourself, subscribe on our Patreon page. Click the link below this episode or go to the Patreon tab on our website, www.peanutspopcornandcrackerjacks.com.
Remember to click the follow button or sign up on Patreon for free to get notified of the next episode.
And leave a review on Apple Podcast or Spotify.
And don't hesitate to write. Give us suggestions or tell us how you're liking the show. Email jeff.ppcpodcast@gmail.com. And for a very fun and congenial Peanuts, Popcorn, and Cracker Jacks t-shirt, go to www.sanofilms.com.
Very fun and congenial. Peanuts, Popcorn, and Cracker Jacks.
It says, hey, how's it going?
T-shirt. All right. That's very, very much so. No, they're comfortable too. For my closing quote, wherever you go with all your heart. Confucius.
Toodaloo.
SantoFilms.com, the place to buy This Old Cub DVDs, posters, and This Old Cub t-shirts. Get yourself one now at SantoFilms.com.